Good morning, everybody. It's so great to be back. Um, let's start again. Good morning. Okay, good. It's so great to be back. And I have to say, you are such great and brave singers. You know, Joaquin just um, conducted us. Had you ever sung that before? Well, you know what? If you launch into your life the way you launched into singing that song right out like that. Weren't they great, Lucky? Backup, these are your new backup. Yeah, that is fabulous. Do we have a talent scout here? so, um, so I know that there are some people who are here for the first time, and I don't know how many of you have taken basic classes, but there is a document that's a part of the legacy of Centers for Spiritual Living, and it's called What We Believe. How many of you know about that? Okay, about half. All right, wonderful. So this is how that came to be. In the 1920s, our founder, Dr. Ernest Holmes, who was a great compiler of truth of all denominations. I mean, he studied Eastern thought, Western thought. He was raised in a Christian family, but he studied science, and he was personal friends with Einstein um, and Yogananda. I mean, he really spanned all of the wisdom traditions. And so someone asked him, what actually, Dr. Holmes, do you believe? And so he spouted out this essay it became an essay, that was originally what I believe. And it was so amazing and complete for the beliefs of our denomination that it has come to be called What We Believe, or the Declaration of Principles. And sometimes the Declaration of Principles is read at ordinations and some celebrations like that. But I want to read to you the opening statement of this, and then we're going to sort of unpack it. Now, you have to remember that Dr. Ernest Holmes loved words. And so there might be some words here that make your eyes roll back in your head, but stay with me here. So this is how it starts. We believe in God, the living Spirit Almighty, one indestructible, absolute, and self-existent cause. This one manifests itself in and through all creation, but is not absorbed by its creation. The manifest universe is the body of God. It is the logical and necessary outcome of the infinite self-knowingness of God. Well, can you just say phew with me? Yeah. So, briefly, God is one. That's how we started the whole service, by singing We Are One. That is absolutely, literally what we believe. That the life in me is the same life as in you, is the same life that's in Jackson, is the same life that's in the trees outside. And so that is one divine life that is God's life, and it indwells everything that's alive, including the earth herself. And so this force, this oneness, is indestructible, and it's self-existent. Now we're going to come back to that, but that means there was no cause that caused it. You cannot wrap your mind around that. I know that it's the self-existent cause, that nothing caused it; it just emerged. So this one manifests itself in and through everything. So that's pretty clear. I said that already, that the life of God is in everyone and everything. And it's not absorbed by its creation, meaning it's not used up. So God creates Jackson, and God creates Reverend Robin and Doug and John and Betty and your practitioners. And the Godness is not less. It's the same infinite supply of Godness. And so it says the manifest universe is the body of God, which means that every single thing is God stuff, because there's nothing else for anything to be made from. It's all God stuff, and that it's made by the self-contemplation of God. So it's kind of like, how would it be to be a tree? How would it be for me to become an ocean? How would it be for me to become a galaxy? How would it be for me to become a flea? And all that ever is as far as we can understand it with our conscious mind and the words that we use is God making stuff out of itself just by thinking it up. That's it. So my title is going to be all about the talk is all about this quote, and the title, I love my title. It is The Difference Between Eternity and Earth, and how important that is for us. That the important part is what I'm going to explain. The title is The Difference Between Eternity and Earth. So let's look at eternity first of all. Eternity is changeless, never-ending, constant. It is self-sustaining and independent. And it's not far off. It's right here. Eternity is right here and in us. It essentially is our home. It is. Eternity is our home. And when we think about Frank, I didn't know Frank, I don't think, but I lost someone in my community very recently too. And so I thought a lot about this, that my gentleman, Jim, and your gentleman, Frank, are not in earth anymore, but they are in eternity. And it's not that we're not in eternity, we are, but they are fully in eternity and formless, which is another whole free thing that's another talk. But so eternity makes things and situations out of itself, but it never changes. So it's not, that's that not being absorbed by its creation. So, in other words, God said, let there be light, and there was light. And after this, the Big Bang or whatever light was, whatever you believe about that statement and about the Big Bang, God was not diminished by that. There's still endless amounts of God. And so, the possibility of eternity going out of existence isn't possible. It's impossible for eternity to go out of existence. It is there always. It is the self-existent cause. You're not going to drop out of God, no matter what. Frank has not dropped out of God. It is always and forever, and it is unchanging, and it is always and forever, and it is unchanging. So that's eternity. Now, Earth. Earth is very different from eternity. As eternity is changeless and ever-present and omniscient and omnipotent and omnipresent, Earth has all of this stuff in form that is subject to the laws of form. So we have mass, gravity, time, change. We have beginnings and endings. We have beginnings and endings of a lifetime on Earth. We have space. We can move things through space. And Earth is dependent on eternity. It is finite, fragile, and it is always changing. Always changing. So as our home is in eternity forever, our part-time, like staycation, is Earth. Okay? We're living in Earth for a while, and we're living in eternity for always. And the possibility of being unchanged on Earth is impossible. So it's impossible for eternity to change, because it's always constant, and it is impossible for Earth not to change. So that's what it says in Psalms kind of explains this in the words of the Old Testament. Of old, thou hast laid the foundation of the earth, and the heavens are the work of thy hands. They shall perish, but thou shalt endure. Yea, all of them shall wax old like a garment. As a vesture that shalt thou change them, and they shall be changed. But thou art the same, and thy years shall have no end. So that should make us very secure, because although everything changes, here, we are also a part of a realm that never ever changes, and it's always supportive and infinitely loving to us. So we come back to that concept of the self-existent cause. And in our philosophy, cause is an idea or a belief or a concept that starts up the creative process. And then there is this creative law that makes things, and then we have the things, which are the effects. You are the effect of God's idea of you. This podium is the effect of someone's conception of what the podium should look like here. So this is explained in the New Testament in John when it says, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. All things were made by Him, and without Him was not anything made that was made." So literally, if you look at life in its biggest, most immense, amazing way to look at things, at least for me, we are here because the formless was made into form. Our bodies, the forms that we live in, were pulled out of eternity. We think of it kind of as the vibration of eternity slowing down so that it can congeal. And actually, that's so amazing because not long ago, the discovery of the Higgs boson, particle that it is suggested that it creates drag on the energy. And so as it creates drag on the energy, it has a chance to form up. And so once again, science is echoing what we have known in spirituality. So bringing things out of eternity into time and space is mind-boggling. And we do it all the time. We absolutely do it all the time. We create our lives by the words we say and the thoughts we think. And out of all the infinite possibilities, you have co-created your life the way it is, without any accident, everything following perfectly from the idea through the creative process into form. Now, there are many ways to change this if you don't like what you've co-created, and that's why you take classes. But so what happens is that we humans span both realms. We are always in eternity, and we are now in earth. And we have the powers and the limitations of both realms. And we use the creative activity of God to create our lives, as we said. And we all have that changeless life of God within us. So that's the basics. We have our home is in eternity and our temporary home is on earth, and we pull stuff out of the formless realm into the realm of form, and there's no accident, there's no mistakes, it all happens perfectly, and we live in this world of form which is always changing. And sometimes we think, I wish it would just stay the way it is. I just want it to stay the way it is for a little bit because I got it all organized right now, and I don't want it to change. But that's an aspect of earthly life. Things change. It's the eternal realm where things don't change. So we make mistakes and hurt ourselves when we mix things up about what is eternity and what is earth. And we absolutely mess ourselves up when we think that God is subject to the limitations of earth, that the limitations of time and space and things like that. Now I'm going to go into that because it's going to make you very happy. So, God cannot change. God is the epitome of the eternal realm and is always loving, giving, supporting, saying yes to our thoughts so that we can create those thoughts. And there are the changeless aspects of God make it impossible for even God to do some things. For example, God cannot be for one of its creation and against another. God cannot be for one and against another. Why is that? Because of the oneness that we spoke about in the very beginning of the service and throughout. Everything is of infinite value to the one. because it's all God. It all came from there. And so it actually points to some really important things about what we ask for in prayer. Because we want what we ask for in prayer to be for the good of all and the harm of none, right? The good of all and the harm of none. That's one of the things you check when you think, what can I ask God for? You can ask God for anything, but it works much, much better if it is for the good of all and the harm of none, because God cannot be against somebody that you might be against in earthly life. So, in the book of Romans in the Bible, which is a letter from Paul to the Christians in Rome, he says this in this translation that is my favorite for this particular part. You know, there are many, many translations of the Bible. If you like this stuff, I recommend that you have many versions of the Bible so you can compare verses, because you might like one or the other. It's all true. And so listen to this. The whole of creation is on tiptoe to see the wonderful sight of the sons and daughters of God coming into their own. This is when we know that there is only things to be for and nothing to be against. Then all of us come into our own. So that's the first thing. God cannot be for some of its creation and against anything else. Secondly, God can never leave us. You might have felt an absence in your life. It was you that turned away. God can never leave us because God is omnipresent. God is present everywhere in its entirety. That's what eternity means. God is everywhere in and throughout all of its creation. It is not used up by its creation. So it's every single place in its entirety and its unfathomable power and love. Every single place. God cannot leave us. So that's pretty nice, right? Let me give you a little quote about that. This is from William Blake. I am in you and you in me, mutual in divine love. That's the truth. God's always there. Next, God cannot be bargained with. Why? Because God is omniscient. The mind of God knows everything. When you try to bargain with God, like I don't know if any of you, sometimes this was a prayer from our youth, and we're in, science of mind now, and we know bargaining doesn't work, but when we're in tough times, we, revert. And we say, oh God, if you just do this and this and this, I'll do this. So if you try to bargain with God, if God does this, I'll do this and this and this, because God is omniscient, God knows everything. God can't discover a new bit of information. Like God would say, wow, now that's an interesting idea. Maybe I'll go with that one. So it's useless to try to bargain with God, because God knows everything, and God knows you completely and loves you just the way you are, unconditionally, no matter what you've ever done, what you've ever said, all those mistakes you made. Nope, no difference. God loves you. So, a little quote in support of that one, Hildegard. We love Hildegard. A human... Hi, Jackson. I wanted you to visit me. A human being is a vessel that God has built for himself and filled with his inspiration so that his works are perfected in it. That's you. I'm going to read it in second person. You are a vessel that God has built for himself or herself or itself and filled with inspiration so that the works of God are perfected in you. That's who you are. So, last one. Remember, God cannot be for one and against another. God cannot leave you. God cannot be bargained with. And God cannot be added to or diminished. So, this is an interesting one. What you do or do not do does nothing to God. Wasn't it, there was someone who said, you can't have an animal with you because it upstages you. Yeah. I was saying something really good there. So, and I want you to get it. What you do or do not do does nothing to God, because God is omnipotent, all-powerful. And so if you don't give your gifts that are planted in you to give, it impoverishes you. It doesn't do anything to God, because God is everywhere and absolutely changeless. So I want to read with you a self-blessing that I wrote for the introduction to my book. And I would love it if you would repeat after me. And you're used to that because you already did it today. So if you would put your hands on your heart and repeat after me. I acknowledge myself, as a unique and sacred being, in all the realms of time and space, and any other dimensions. I acknowledge myself for choosing to come to this beautiful earth, to learn and to prosper. From this moment forward, I trust the holy life within me to lead me into deep experiences of spiritual satisfaction and into the paradise that is already mine. That's how you think of yourself, because that's just a teensy bit about how God thinks of you as its precious, precious, unique creation. So, to bring this all together, this first statement in what we believe means that we're all connected, we're all cared for, we're all supplied, we're all guided, always, 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 no matter what. So I had a little ritual planned for you, and actually I'm going to change its meaning just slightly. I'm going to pass this out and take one. These are little packets of California poppy seeds. Now, California poppy seeds are symbolic not only of the state of California, but about the beauty of God and the immortality of life. Because, you know, if they like where they're planted, they are going to come up and come up and come up and come up. And so I ask you to take these poppy seeds, and if you knew and loved Frank, you can dedicate the planting of these poppy seeds to Frank, and to know that he has ended his time in the earthly realm, and he is back in the formless realm of pure, pure, pure eternity. And it's not too far away from Memorial Day, and so if you have someone else that you would like to remember, and it doesn't have to be a service person, although it surely can be, but the way I think of Memorial Day is that every single one of my ancestors gave their life so that I may be here. And I think of the same for you. Of all of the wars and the pestilence and the disease and and stuff that happens to people before they can make the next generation, your ancestors managed it back into the unfathomable time past. Not a broken generation, or you would not be here. And so, however you want to remember someone special by planting these poppy seeds, what I suggest you do in your own personal ritual is to actually stand in the rising sun with the sun at your back. So you cast a shadow over the space where you're going to plant the poppy seeds. Plant them in a place where they have a chance of getting some water. And the shadow that you cast on the ground is your energy that you are putting into these poppy seeds in memory of whatever you want. And as they grow, you will remember that person. You will remember the eternal realm that you are a part of and they are a part of. And you will remember how perfect it is that God's law works. You have planted poppy seeds and poppies come up. Just like when you plant love seeds, love comes up in your life. So I have a little closing meditation that I want to do with you. I want to also say that I have some of my books here and other products if you want to take a look at them. One thing I also do every single summer is I lead groups to Celtic lands. And so I'm getting ready to go to Wales in just a couple of weeks, actually 2 weeks from today. But I have another trip later in the summer to England, to the crop circles and Stonehenge. If you have, I have a sign-up sheet that says, I'm seriously interested in this trip and I'm already partly packed. Because there are just a few spots left. If you are interested, I'll send you the whole information. The whole trip would probably be around $5,000, including air. And if you want information about my trips in the future, there's another sign-up sheet that you can put your contact information on, and I will let you know about that. So at my place, I have what is called a takeaway. Every Sunday, I have a very easy statement about the topic, which is for people if they're having coffee with some of their friends and their friends say, well, what did you do in that crazy church you go to? They can say very simply, this is your takeaway for today, for example, I am a part of eternity even now on earth. Say that, please. I am a part of eternity even now on earth. So that's what you can say to your peeps when they say, what did you do in that crazy church today? So if you would turn within with me and feel how it is to be in form. Feel how living in a body feels. How special it is to have hands and feet. How special it is to have ears to hear. How special it is to have that tongue that sits so comfortably inside your teeth. So sweet. And then feel also that in some mysterious and yet very, very real way, you are a part of eternity. And the way that you access the eternal part, the way that you access your oneness with that omniscient, omnipresent, and omnipotent source of all, is to meditate on something that you love. To simply know that if you have your dog in your lap, that is your doorway into eternity. If you have your arms wrapped around your loved one, that is an entrance into eternity. If you are lying in the grass and everything is well with you, that is an entry into eternity. Everybody has doorways all over the place because our real home is eternity. And I beg you to find the doorways so that not only are we comfortable on earth, but we are comfortable in our true home, which is eternity. Blessed be.